this one. You guys switched my song, so that was not my choice.
We had to have a little fun. So we've been talking about what the shop of tomorrow looks like, what the future of the agency business is. So I want to spend the first few minutes just talking with you guys about what that actually means. What does it mean to have a new agency model, and what actually that looks like? So we can start with you, Mike.
Yeah, I'll go for it. It's the idea of a new agency model. I don't think so much in terms of models. My whole focus is thinking about what do we have to get done in a given day or a given month or a given year, and really what do our clients need from us. And to one extent or another, every single one of our clients is or will be going through some level of business transformation. And we see it as our job to help support them through it. So in a given day, we've got to be a creative agency, we've got to be a product design firm, we've got to be a marketing agency, we've got to be a technology startup and firm, and a little bit of McKinsey all wrapped up in one. And at the same time, we've got to make ourselves the place that the best people want to come work and want to stay. So we look at that as a whole and really think that it all works together, because people are ambitious, clients are ambitious, and we as an agency are ambitious. So we try to find this level of mutual ambition and just keep our sights set on that and just build towards that and use that as the foundation.
Okay. What about you guys? Sort of new agency, does that mean being a little bit of everything, which is what?
Yeah, I think kind of really moving away from the semantics of what advertising is and creating small specialized groups that can generate content or user experiences very quickly and actionably. I think the second piece of that is being really open to what a brand partnership means. So whether that's creating a unique experience for your client or opening up to other content creators to ideate together, I think that's a big piece. The third piece for us would really be investing in what your unique brand looks like. So whether it's an agency or not, what do you stand for, and potentially what do you not stand for?
I think I'm going to start with a third point last.
I just want to clarify too, it's not a little bit of everything, because nowadays it has to be a lot of everything. So we have to be very clear that when we get into a space or when we identify an opportunity, we can't just talk to it and fake it till we make it. We've got to be ready to go deep really fast, because what companies are looking for us to help them with now are some of the biggest problems that they've ever faced in their histories. Everybody is on the offensive and the defensive at the exact same time, and we've got to be able to go deep in and help them solve those problems.
If you're saying, for example, I think the going deep part is accurate, and that makes a lot of sense. But if you want to go deep and be a McKinsey, can you? Is that really possible, considering the resources?
To a level. Now, we're not the 15,000 person firm that McKinsey is, and we're not competing with them on every single level. But we see really interesting things. We'll get into it. Somebody will hire us to do a website design project, and before discovery, we'll realize that, holy crap, we're in a business transformation situation. And rather than say, okay, we've got to stop now and you've got to pick this up and bring in the consultants and do it, we make sure that we've got the business strategy team, the product strategy team, and the level of technical strategy and organizational strategy that can help them get through that.
That makes sense. What are some of the other businesses sort of that you look to that's happened with? Like, can you maybe give me a few more examples of, like, okay, you're starting a project and you suddenly find that we can also help them with this other thing, and hey, maybe we need a new practice or hire some more people for this thing?
Well, we see that we look for people with specialties that can help us get to certain areas. We've gotten into app design projects for brands, but they yield a whole new revenue model and pricing model for their products and services. So we want to make sure that we've got that pricing capability where we can go deep as well. Or things that go deeper and affect the organization, where we're not just changing the digital experience, we've got to change the service model and the customer service model that the business uses to fulfill on what that new level of customer engagement is.
Yeah, I think also investing in the services that are naturally part of your DNA. So for us, that would be a maker culture, experiential, and earned media. To that point, you'll attract the brands and clients that inherently need those things. So really being specialized in those moments and investing in them.
Absolutely. Well, tell me a little bit about sort of, I know that the maker culture has sort of always been a big part of what you guys do. We actually just wrote about that too. How did that start? I mean, where was like that moment of, okay, we're we're doing all this on the side, we're tinkering, can we make it a little bit more formal? Can we make it a process?
It really starts with the talent. We tend to attract really hybrid talent, and so naturally the way that they were expressing themselves creatively was with their hands. We noticed that and started investing in it in terms of let's build an entire department around this, but not just in a traditional maker space. We really implement it into our proof of concept for creative. We implement it into our pitch strategy, and we even implement it into our kind of talent new hire model as well.
Can you give me an example of the pitch strategy part?
The pitch strategy, a lot of times it's a wooing technique. Well, instead of just looking at brand positioning or strategic positioning, we'll physically create something that we feel manifests the brand that we're talking about. I think it really differentiates us as an agency first and foremost, and it's kind of a starting point of where we might go creatively.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you guys sort of throw that in as part of the pitch, or do you guys sort of make that, this is part of our offering? Like how formalized is the structure?
A lot of times that is the beginning of the brief point for us. Okay. That's kind of our drop point of how would we express this in a physical way, or how would we express this through experiential, and a lot of times the creative will fall out of that.
Absolutely.
Just kind of naturally.
That makes sense. I think what you talked about before, I want to go back there and see how Huge has done it. So you were talking about often the third part of the new agency model sometimes means turning the lens on yourself, branding yourself, and what that means and what am I providing. I think Huge has actually done a really good job of kind of what is Huge. It's meant a lot of things for a lot of clients. And it's something that I think has really evolved over the years. I think like every year it feels like you guys start something new and you've grown a lot. Just talk to me about that process of doing that. And at any point did you ever feel like, okay, this is not what we're going to do too? I mean, what were the failures?
Right. So the firms, you have to be. Nowadays, you have to be self-aware, and you have to know what's working, because there's so much transparency. You've got everybody's got an eye in on what you're doing. There's not like there's this wall that nobody can see past. It's not those old days where you can hide all the bad stuff. We've got to be, we've got to be very focused. Some of the advantages that we've had is that even though we've grown, we're 1,200 or a little bit more people right now, it's all been organic. So that we don't have that problem that a lot of people have where, okay, these guys are out here with an earn-out and we've got to accommodate that, or let's integrate two different cultures. What I love about where I am is that everybody that's joined our company has chosen to join it, and they've chosen to join it with this grounding philosophy. To your point, what we've done very well is that we've maintained an entrepreneurial culture even as we've gotten big, and we're always huge. Well, we try, and we look at that as an opportunity for discovery. Every office that we start is started like a startup and is judged that way. I started the Atlanta office 2.5 years ago with a creative partner, and we started with the two of us, and we've grown. We've had great success, but we've also learned that we had to scale structurally earlier. You can't just live that startup life too much. We had to put structure in place and really make sure that going from 2 to we're now 115 people in a relatively short amount of time is great, and there's been a lot of growth, and we're delivering a great amount of value, but we also want to make sure that it's sustainable.
So when you started off and you were trying to operate like a startup, even though obviously you're this.
Yeah, we have support. Yeah,
because it's a startup in the best possible way.
Right.
You have the support behind you. How quickly then what does it mean to retain an entrepreneurial culture even as you grow? Like how did that actually manifest itself?
It's that when we hired people, we brought them into a culture. We made them part of the growth story. And it wasn't you're just coming here to do a job. Everybody's got a job to do. But when they set foot in, when they get to their desk, sitting desk or standing desk, and they grab their laptop and they get started, they're there to do a job, but they also felt like they were there to help build something. And we've got that across every one of the offices, and even in the offices that have more legacy or more latent, we've got to be comfortable blowing things up and making sure that things don't get stale or we don't get too big and too siloed, because I heard that in a lot of the discussions today in the town hall, is that we fail if we're siloed.
Yeah.
That's it. Our model doesn't work if we're siloed. It's got to be agile, collaborative, and democratic, and if you've got, well, they're over there with that offer, go talk to them if you need that. Then we failed, and we failed our clients, and we've let down the people that come to work for us.
Absolutely.
I think that also speaks to kind of one of the challenges that we're facing right now. Brands are looking for campaigns that aren't only affecting their business models or sales, but that really give them cultural cachet. So agencies, the middlemen, are being cut out in some ways, and they're going right to those cultural creators. So if you bring them in-house and you nurture them in-house, a brand is less apt to go outside. They'll go directly to you because they are impacting culture.
Why should or why would the culture creators come work for you?
I think, again, it's what you're creating in-house. Giving them the opportunity not just make an ad campaign, but really make impactful work in culture outside of just the ad industry. I think that's very attractive for somebody who, again, is a bit of a hybrid.
Yeah. Okay.
And showcasing them is
Right.
that they, respecting it. It's not a side project, and everybody, all these folks, that when they go home, they're still tinkering and they're making stuff, whether it's photography, making movies, renovating cars, or playing with Arduinos at their kitchen table. But when they get to put it to use and see it applied to a multi-billion-dollar business and how that could help change this company's interaction with their consumers and grow revenue and achieve marginal growth, that's thrilling, and that's really satisfying for people and validating for what they can do with their heads and their hands.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys have both kind of talked about individual models of how you kind of modeled your agencies. Something Brian Wiener said yesterday I thought was really interesting, that he tried to model departments within 360i the way sort of they had this vision for doing it. But at the end of the day, if a client had a certain model, that department in charge of that client had to mirror that model. And I thought that was really interesting, that no matter what you do, on some level you are beholden to your client's models. How does that work into the rise of the new agency model? Or is that something you just haven't done?
No, we do it all the time, but the key has been, I don't want to sound like setting the ground rules, but we're very clear about how we work and what we stand for. And that we don't, you do always make accommodation for clients and the client needs, but if we have to change the way that we work because that's how somebody else works, that's not good for them and it's not good for us. So when we come in, we talk about what guides us, but we also talk a lot about the mutual value and why we're set up the right way. Because I do believe that we know how to set ourselves up better than the client knows how to set us up.
Right.
So we have to stay with the right level of accommodation, but still stay principled and true to delivering the way that we know is the right way to deliver.
Yeah.
I think that's a really exciting shift that I've seen. There's a lot more frank conversations happening earlier on with brands and clients. And I think being as transparent as possible from the new business strategy, that piece in the process is really important. And again, I think you're going to attract a client-agency relationship that's supposed to fit naturally based on your services and based on your offering.
Right, absolutely.
There's a different type of trust that you have to establish now up front and really get into it early, because going back, not to talk too just about this, this idea that everybody's in some transformative state right now, is that shows vulnerability. And you've got to appreciate it and have the right level of empathy for it, but also really make people confident that you're there for the right reasons and that we're built to solve the problems that they're facing.
Yeah. Do you feel like the new agency model needs to accept that trust has changed? The whole idea of trust. There's a lot more voices at the table. There's a lot more people that the client now talks to, and not just agencies. Right? They're talking about everybody. What does trust look like for the future?
Well, it's multifaceted. I think we have to make the CMO and the CIO trust us.
Right.
And these are two individuals who sometimes they can be aligned or they can be opposed, and their jobs are washing over more than they ever have before. So we have to build trust in different types of organizations, but really we're not, going back to the deception, we're not here to deceive anybody.
Right.
All we're here to do is do great work and make amazing things that people love and that can help to grow our clients' business.
I think that's another big issue that's been brought up, this whole reckoning between AOR versus project. It is a bit alarmist, I would say. I think the project-based model does help in that you're slowly growing a relationship with a client. You're earning that trust. You're proving yourself time after time. it makes it difficult for predicting financials sometimes, but in general, that shift, you can really get a little bit riskier with the work as well. So I think that's a shift for the positive.
Yeah. Have you found yourself doing more project work?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're totally, we work well under projects.
Okay.
We're very actionable agency,
Okay.
so that suits us.
Yeah. And what about sort of having the other agencies or having the other partners there? I think Mike had actually opened up the town hall with this question of like learning from other agencies. Like maybe that's not the craziest idea, that there are a lot of agencies at the table now, so why don't we learn from them? How is that kind of worked into if you're doing more project work?
To me, that sentiment is very old guard. Right. We really want to be partners with other agencies. Yeah. We want to root them on when they're winning. We want to learn from them. So again, I think it's in the minutia of the process, but really inviting them early on to ideate together, and not looking at it as a competition, but just a larger creative platform. Yeah,
absolutely. How do you guys stay sort of? I think Huge is also one of those agencies that's always sort of knows what the next thing is. How do you guys do it? How is it possible?
Well, we hire smart people, and we read Digiday a lot, and we
that never fails.
we try to think ahead, but it's, I really believe that it's our responsibility to start solving problems that our clients are going to have to solve before they do, and start to think about things before they pay us to think about them. So one example, about 6 weeks ago, we opened a coffee shop in Atlanta, a huge branded coffee shop. It's the first consumer-facing business that we've had, and it's a great coffee shop. The building needed a coffee shop. I wanted to get our name on the building, so it solved for that. But really, the idea was that, in addition to having a place where I could go get what I wanted, is that we could use it as a retail test lab, so that we could start figuring out what does the Apple Watch look like in a back office scenario with the baristas wearing it for order fulfillment, or what's the right level of order ahead, so that we've explored it, built it, proximity detection, all of that, before somebody's starting to think about it and before we get the brief. So running that as a standalone business, it's a new venture for us, it's an investment for us, and it's also a stake in the ground that says, look, we're putting real money on the table to try to figure out what is the future look like, and we're not going to, again, not wait for you to pay us to think about the future.
Okay. How's the coffee?
It's awesome.
Okay.
It's better than here. It's awesome.
Oh, sorry, I didn't make it. What has that meant then? So now that you have this, retail testing ground, where are you in the process? Like, has that now sort of already gone to a client, being like, hey, look, we tested this. This might work for you.
Yeah, we started that actually weeks before it opened, and they were some of them were on-site and involved in seeing it unfold as we were building it out, but also prototyping. And when digital meets physical, one of the things you really have to consider is what's the space look like, and how does digital fit into that space? So, and everybody's trying to figure that out. An app by itself or a watch by itself or something like that doesn't work if it doesn't fit the space. So we invited them into the architectural process, as well as getting eyes on what are some pilots or betas that we're running related to the business.
And that naturally builds a social strategy on its own.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have time for one more question. Well, kind of. There's a really quick one.
Yeah.
Oh, one back there.
I have a question. How are you seeing your media people? Are you trying to have them be proficient in both traditional and digital, or are you trying to make them be, because I don't think you can be experts in both, I really don't. But are you seeing a silo between media planning and buying from the two disciplines?
So there's certainly a sea change in media buying right now. Clients are wanting more non-traditional plays. I think, again, that's the collaboration piece. And I would say the media companies, too, are educating themselves about these other opportunities where you could have a burst impact moment in a non-traditional placement or place, and then still have the always-on method throughout the buy. So we try and really work together to influence those moments early on in the process.
Cool. Great. Well, thank you so much. I know you guys are going to lead a breakout session later, so there'll be more opportunity to ask some questions.
Thanks, Shareen.
Thank you.